So, hello and welcome to this edition of The Angels and Destiny. Why is this show called this, you may ask, so I'll tell you. The accepted meaning of angel is messenger, and the accepted meaning of destiny is to make firm establish. So my guest and I bring you messages to establish what you need to know in the present. And of course, I like working with angels and the calmness they bring. Now, in a moment, I will introduce you to my wonderful returning guest, Matt Bell. But before that, I'd like to say thank you so much for your continued support, as it really means a lot to both of us to connect with like-minded people. Now, if you've never met me before, then my name is Ray, and I'm the founder of Radiant Angel Energy. And I'm a spiritual guide and healer who's passionate about helping you reconnect with your divine presence and step into your purpose. Now, through angelic Reiki, angel oracle cards, guided meditations, and exploring past and future lives, I support you in healing your past and creating a soul-aligned future. Now, my journey has taught me that with the right tools and guidance, we can all connect with our higher selves, embrace transformation, and live a life full of abundance and fulfillment. Now, each episode of this show covers various themes of your journey, a mini guided meditation or angel oracle card reading, with the wisdom of my wonderful guests, like today's returning guest, Matt Bell, about solar maximum and what its powerful convergence means for humanity, Earth, and our collective ascension. As the light codes stream in and dormant DNA activates, we're entering a period of rapid transformation, heightened timelines, and awakening frequencies, alongside potential chaos and deep calm. Now, Matt is a time traveler, artist, psychic consultant, and experiencer who has been sharing his unique star knowledge with curious minds around the world. Since childhood, he's had profound connections with benevolent star families and has developed his own method, the Connection Protocol, to help others do the same. Now, through his star teaching events, Ascension trainings, and creative projects, Matt supports individuals and communities in raising consciousness and stepping into unity and collaboration. Now, he's been a guest on many well-known platforms and is known for bringing grounded insight, humour, and clarity to complex spiritual topics. Now, the last time Matt joined us, our conversation sparked even more questions. So I can't wait to see where this one takes us. And bearing in mind, we were supposed to go live yesterday, but Gremlins, Greys, whatever you want, stopped me going out on the normal flat platform. We're going out today. So fingers crossed everything carries on. So without further delay, hello, Matt, and a warm welcome back to the Angels and Destiny show. How are you today?
Hi, Ray. I'm brilliant. Yeah, no, really happy. Lovely sunny day. It's coming up to the solstice. Yeah, really good. Really buzzing actually, because there's loads of positivity, out there, and I'm looking forward to kind of sharing that with people. So just to balance things up a bit more. So yeah, good.
Beautiful. So before we get into this fascinating conversation, I want to remind you not only can you share this video, but you can also ask questions, leave comments and thoughts, as both Matt and I want to be part of this conversation. So please don't be shy. And I will be monitoring to see if any questions come in. So Matt, why don't you remind us about your journey and what is the solar max convergence and how will it affect us?
Yeah, good questions. Basically. It kind of started when I was young with my granny, and she would take me around to churches, and she'd sell kind of bandages to the priests, and to pubs and things like that. And one time she took me around to, I think it was Westminster Cathedral, and we're just sitting there in the service, and I was kind of bored, and I kind of looked over at the wall, and there were these kind of like stone plaques with scenes on them, sort of carved in them, of sort of people interacting. And as I was looking at them, their mouths started moving and their heads started moving, and I was thinking, wow, but I couldn't hear any voices, and I was just mesmerised by these talking stone figures. The rest of the plaque was stone still, but their heads and the mouths were moving, and so I didn't say anything at the time. But when Granny took me out from the church afterwards for a snack, I mentioned it. I said, why are their heads moving? And she's like, what do you mean heads moving? And I was like, there's this stone plaque on the wall with these kind of monk characters talking. What's all that about, Granny? And she's like, oh, he's got the gift. And I'm like, oh God, I don't want any attention, sort of thing. So I kind of kept stum after that, and just thought, oh, it was weird. Maybe it was me, just a weird kind of And then as I sort of grew up a bit more, I kept on getting weird kind of incidents, where kind of like, you're walking along and a great big green laser is shining across you and things, or, you'd get voices kind of talking to you in an echoey kind of thing, and you'd be like, where are you coming from? And all sorts of weird sort of incidents as well, and kind of lights in the sky and things like that. But as a sort of teenager, I'd be kind of sitting out in the garden and just kind of enjoying, the night, the evening sort of thing, and stargazing. And one time I just kind of looked up, and I just said, "Oh, hello, beautiful," and kind of waved at this star. And I was thinking, "Oh, aren't you so lovely?" And I was concentrating on it, and then it waved back. And I was like, "What?" Uh, so I was like, "Okay." Another one of those weird incidents. Um, and I kind of tried it again, and it started bobbing up and down and stuff. So over the course of a sort of few nights afterwards, I was going, oh, okay, let's see if it's just me, or I'll try it with another star. And one by one, all of them kind of waved back and bobbed up and down and stuff. And I'm going, okay, there's something in this. I'll ask a friend and do it with a friend and see if they could get the same sort of thing. And they did. And I was like, well, okay, so these are conscious beings, because part of me knew as I was getting older, I was going psychic as well, but I didn't really know it at the time. The only way I knew it was that I couldn't explain what was going on to sort of normal people. They'd think I was crazy. But all the psychic kind of people were saying stuff that made sense, really. And then I thought, oh, okay, let's explore that a bit more. And then it kind of it clicked, I really, and as I was communicating kind of more with these stars, I was getting like downloads. They were kind of telepathically telling me all sorts of stuff. And then one morning, I guess it was about 2 or 3 in the morning, I got a message saying we're on our way, and then we're downstairs. And I'm thinking, is that my imagination? And when I went downstairs, there was a great big white orb in the garden, with some sort of slim kind of rasta, almost human-looking person, but not. And the weird thing was, I wasn't scared at all. I wasn't like in a trance or mesmerized. I was fully conscious, but I could actually just feel the love from this being and from this orb. And so I just decided to walk in, and then literally within seconds, the Earth was sort of falling away, and we were going into this mothership, this large ship with a kind of central atrium. And then I'm just stunned, I'm kind of going, this must be a dream. This is a dream. I'll wake up any minute now, kind of stuff. But no. And then they said, yeah, we want to take you to a meeting and talk to you about things that are coming on Earth. And I was like, okay. I have just, in some ways, I still don't know why me, but I'm very lucky to have been invited. So I'm not questioning it too much. And then, so they'd tell me all the sort of data in a big kind of auditorium with different beings. And then they took me back down and dropped me kind of like 1 minute or 1 second rather before I left, kind of thing. So I saw, as I got dropped back, I saw me going. It's very it's a very weird thing. Anyway, so after that, I kind of got more and more interested in it, because I'd met a whole load of beings that were really loving, really playful, really intelligent, really actually wanting to help humanity and free us from these mental slavery. So yeah, ever since I've been kind of communicating with them and being invited up on craft, I've had kind of weird, like Ezekiel, the burning bush kind of incident, where I thought a tree was on fire, and then it sort of, the fire came out and floated in the air, and then literally turned into a cylinder on fire. So I'm going, okay, right. So, but those are the beings from planet Sindriel in the Aldebaran system, and they're called the Homily. So they're part of my star family. You realise actually, so much. I've gained so much knowledge, and I just want to share that with everyone, because it's so important. It's all our inheritance, really. It's all our birthright to know what's going on outside Earth, but know more about the history of Earth and our own, origins, sort of thing. So it's fascinating, bringing it all to you guys, And I'm not doing it to say believe me either. I'm doing it, whatever resonates with you, and double check with other sources. So, but yeah, it's a joy because there's so many good things to talk about. Um, the fact that we've got a whole fleet of Pleiadians from Tegeta up in orbit, 400,000 kilometers up in orbit, loads of ships. We've got the Irma, which are the tall, 8-foot tall cat beings. They don't take any trouble. You don't mess with them. Not even reptiles will mess with them. And then you've got the Antarians, which where they came from, where they established Antares, the planet Antares, was a bit isolated, so they built up a big military. But they kind of they're benevolent because they're part of their thing is to protect other smaller ET races and things like that. So they've all turned up around Earth, and they're going, what's going on with this cabal and deep state and all this sort of nefarious business? And since May the 21st, they've taken control of the Galactic Federation headquarters behind the moon. So it's getting very interesting now because they're replacing the 12 ambassadors that were governing Earth with human ones with emotions, because the other ones were logic and they were kind of deceptive. So the whole kind of shift has happened, reflected, people are waking up to their corrupt governments, but also mirrored in the Galactic Federation, how the benevolent star families were fooled into thinking that they were working for good guys, realized that they'd been fooled. They were the police force, so they've turned around and now become taken over and being the benevolent guys. So all that has gone on since literally 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and so and it's still ongoing, and there's lots of rescues as well. And the thing is as well, they've taken control of the jump room codes and the portal codes, so they're literally jumping into deep state dumbs, rescuing children and adults, and then pulling them out. So there's lots of disruption going on to the cabal at the moment because their game's up, really. So, and that's part of the reason kind of why I'm here, because I'm seeing that transition through the yugas, through the solar cycles, and that brings me to the solar max, because every 11 years our sun sort of perturbates and creates kind of portals, black spots. And the sun is a white hole, so on the other end of that is a black hole. And so lots of star family use it as like a kind of junction for traveling the superhighway kind of thing. It's just temperamental. It's not going to be a great big solar flash. And actually what we've been getting are the CMEs, which are coronal mass ejections, which are kind of upgrades in our DNA light codes, because the sun feeds all life on Earth, sort of thing. And it shines through every organ kind of thing and recharges us. So we're at that point where all sorts of things are coming together. We've just had the strawberry full supermoon, which is like the lowest hanging, biggest moon of the year, I think. And that was pink. Now, pink is very close to violet, isn't it? So we've been getting that pink frequencies on Earth. And that's hung around for about 2 days. So that's a real long lingerer. And then we've got the max coming up on the 21st. Now, what that does is basically maximum light levels. So we're going to get maximum chaos. So maximum people losing the plot and doing silly things and getting into trouble. Maximum people ascending as well. So maximum people going, what is this chaos? And kind of waking up out of that. And then trying to find sort of, some sort of community or some sort of other truths, proper truths. And then we've got people kind of just sort of in eddies in between. So there's a maximum of everything, maximum chaos, maximum order, maximum people ascending, maximum people descending as well, because they've kind of hooked onto those belief systems of false authority. So, but hopefully, collectively, that collective intelligence that we're sharing all this knowledge will get out to people and make them more aware of these kind of nefarious kind of agendas and stuff like that. So that's partly why I'm talking about all these things, because we're literally going through an amazing time where we're shifting even our kind of our perception of reality. We're realizing that we are the creators of that individually. These authorities and institutions don't care for us, and that we really kind of be our own boss and not give away our authority to kind of false entities and stuff. So that's all happening. And then we've got the convergence, which is that's all this kind of narratives, all the news, all the stories about war, all the sort of pandemic, but it's interesting because they're counteracting each other, then cancelling each other out. So an example is people who would be kind of body conscious were coerced into taking the thing, but then when it came to things like abortion issues and stuff like that, they were saying my choice, my body. Yet they had taken something without informed consent. So it kind of cancelled each other out. It's happening on many, many other levels. Things like advertising going woke, and then people just losing sales. People are wising up to things like that. And effectively, it's plucking every one of our lives, a narrative, the banking, the fact that they can withhold you taking money out. Millions of narratives all coming together all at once in one big sort of jumble soup, and that's creating like an energy node, and that's the convergence basically of all these different kind of timelines and narratives coming together and scrambling up, which is a necessary thing because to make an omelette you need to crack eggs, as the saying goes, to bring in birth the new earth and loving holistic frequencies. None of that old stuff could survive in that higher frequency, and so literally it's kind of shaking itself apart. So that's the convergence. But what's quite interesting with the convergence is the equilibrium. So the equilibrium, we've gone hundreds of years creating wars, killing people, machinery, different ways to kill each other, or profit from someone else's loss. But we're breaking those cycles now because we're rising above that. Technology was higher than spirituality, and so people were making kind of weapons for greed and profit and their own gain. But actually, as the collective consciousness rises in the spiritual, in light levels, effectively through this ascension, spirituality is taking over. So we're no longer going to create kind of weapons of mass destruction or futile things. We're actually going to start making, and it's happening already, healing technologies, technologies to benefit kind of communities and stuff like that. And so there's massive advances in 0-point energy generation machines. There's in ways of renewing energy without pollution, using magnetism and things like that. So and that goes with the technologies of Star Family as well, because they all have 0-point reactors in their craft, which then generates a magnetic field, starting with the engine. A bit like actually birth, you start with the heart of something, and then that generates the rest of the body. So they create the magnetic field, and then they program powdered metals or alloys and polymorphic titanium powder, effectively, into a computer graphic shape, because they can control the gravity in that containment field. And then they fuse that, and that's how they make craft and stuff like that. So all that sort of technology is coming out, the knowledge of that. But what's so brilliant as well is technology that they've had for millions of years. So all those kind of polygonal block stone things in South America, walls, and you get in Egypt and stuff like that. They're saying, well, we used liquid stone. We just melted the stone and put it in place in a gravitational field. And we had things like sonic saws, which were like a blade that they put high frequency sound in, and that would just literally cut through stone like butter. So all this sort of knowledge about what's happened in the past on Earth as well is coming out. The different species that were here 9,000 years ago, because it was one big party after the flood. The Galactic Federation kind of it's a space conglomerate of multiple different species, but they came down to Earth and they built all the pyramids with Thoth as the kind of main architect. But yeah, so there are pyramids dedicated to different ETs. Say the Djoser pyramid, that's dedicated to a specific ET that's not human. And yeah, and the technology, the free energy grid, those why the pyramids, because after the flood, which was Tiamat being destroyed, which is a watery planet, was the fifth one between Mars and Jupiter. Anyway, that got destroyed, and because it was a watery planet, it got pulled into the atmosphere of Earth, and that's the flood. Came as rains and things like that, and then the seas rose about 5,000 meters, swallowed up Atlantis and Lemuria, and then they had to start again. Some civilizations went to the high ground, like Scotland and places like that. So then that was the kind of the start of new civilizations, and then Egypt came, one of the biggest. And then that was unfortunately taken over by the reptilians at Akhenaten's time. And that was kind of the start of the Cabal. So the Cabal's been here for about 3,360 years, and it's starting to crumble. They've had a long time to establish all their roots and nefarious deep state sort of mechanisms, and that's throughout society. And a lot of those are sort of hybrid humans and not actually humans, because you kind of think, why is everyone doing things so anti-human? They're trying to create ways of killing us all, and then you think, oh, of course, because they're not human. Of course, they've got their directives from rather regressive species. So that even is coming up to the fore now. So you wouldn't think that politicians were having little background chats with extraterrestrials, but they have been for decades. And it makes sense because all the governments as well have collected crashed craft. They've known about these ETs for decades and decades, but they're just not telling the public because obviously it's an advantage to them with technologies and stuff like that. So that's the equilibrium. That's like people waking up, becoming wiser, becoming more spiritual, doing the mindset shift. They're kind of changing their priorities. They no longer want to do the rat race or the kind of chase to the top to be success, because they realize it's all toxic, and they'd rather be with friends and family doing the kind of vocations that they love, working with the land or children, or putting love back into these systems basically, and creating lovely communities. So that's what I'm kind of doing at the moment. But yeah, the convergence, the equilibrium, and the max is all coinciding at once to help bring it all out to the surface. And that's why we're getting a lot of people kind of seeing their darkness and having to face those issues, because that's literally being ascended out of them, pulled out of them. And then when people deal with that sort of shadow work and their traumas and stuff like that, it's brilliant because they can start helping others and passing on their wisdom. And so it's a lovely kind of progressive cycle. And so that's starting to build these lovely communities around the world who are kind of sacred spaces where you've got people who kind of just want to support you, whatever your issue you're going through. And yeah, just want to get together and have a good time, bring the joy, have some, something to drink and eat, bit of music, simple stuff, the old vibrations, like sit round a fire and just have a good old natter. So it's still, prevalent today. So that's what's so lovely is people are finding community, they're finding trustworthy people, because people are losing their trust for these authorities now. So they, who can you rely on? Well, people locally, who are sincere and stuff. So that all that's happening all at once, and I haven't even gone, haven't even gone into the ET stuff yet. I mean, the stuff that they're saying is like mind blowing. So yeah.
Well, before we get into that, we Amanda Hiltz Brown and is here and said hello to both of us. Trevor Norton says happy to see the podcast is a go. Yes, we are too. After yesterday. And Amanda says it's been massive cos for me this year. Spring as ending. This spring as endings converge now towards new beginnings. And something I've also noticed in my own work is that past life stuff is coming up really now. You know, I was at the Mind Chem Wellness exhibiting down there doing angelic Reiki, and I do a card reading at the end. And I think about 5 people in one day all had past life issues cards come up. And where I'm doing my Soul Path Discovery program, which is healing the baggage from the past, there is so much stuff from the past that is coming up, and not just past lives, but childhood stuff as well. So it is like it's all coming up to be cleared now.
Yeah.
So, you know, before we, so, you know, with the ETs, how are they saying we navigate, you know, what information have they got? How do we navigate all of this? Because it can be pretty scary looking out at everything that's happening, and then you're finding you're not sleeping, your energy change, you've got all this stuff coming up, you don't know who you can trust, who you can't trust. What are they saying? You know, how are we navigating this? And of course, anyone who's watching, you know, if you haven't said hello and you've got any questions, please do ask whilst you've got Matt here. Anyway, Matt, over to you.
Well, we're all aliens here. We're all seeded on this planet. Darwin made up his thing. So we've all basically have star families. We all have different kind of cosmic roots, effectively. And because we got here, say, about 1 million years ago, from the Great Expansion, after the reptilians kind of invaded the Lyra system, a lot of us have got lost, and because it's kept in an artificially low frequency, the Earth, this kind of mixed realm of good, dark, and light, we lose that past life memory. But what's happening is that some people are coming through their birth portal in the incarnation, and they're still keeping those fine frequencies of past life memories. And that's what's coming up in people, that sort of past life memory. The Callistos, which are star family from Jupiter, that's their planet, they remember their past lives at 13 automatically, because they're not in the same lower frequency density as Earth. You know, it's a higher existential realm. So we come, some of the ETs have been using, the nefarious ones, have been using Earth as kind of like a game. You know, it's like come into the hologram, do anything damage you want, and live in this sort of human avatar and wreak havoc and stuff. But, you know, also there's been benevolence here who have been trying to create colonies and stuff like that. So the upshot is that after 3,000 odd years, most of the population have been fooled into thinking that they evolved on the planet, that life doesn't exist outside the planet, that the planet's flat, that reality and the material world is all that there is. You know, whereas actually everything comes from ether, comes from spirit, comes from consciousness, comes from source. That's its prime. We are still spirit, but we are in a containment field that's of colliding frequencies that creates light. So we're a sound, a verse, literally a verse in light. And I'm this particular shape of light sort of thing, and you are that particular shape. So they're saying basically, what you need to do is bring back your authority. So don't give your false beliefs away. Don't be waiting for a savior. Don't be waiting for things. Take action yourself. Bring that love back to yourself. Make the decisions for you, and not farm them out to someone else to do it, like a politician who's got different motivations and agendas, or a doctor who's paid by kind of big pharma, or you know, or an educator who's got a particular ideology. So there's to bring back your own authority, to cut your cords of attachment to things that don't serve you or cause you suffering, to kind of face your traumas head on, like, you know, because otherwise they kind of scupper you. It's like, you know, if you're coming to shore, the waves can knock a boat over sideways if you're going alongside the waves. But if you cut through them, you get past them and you get over them. And it's the same for trauma, really. You have to face up to that. But at the same time, you know, don't attach blame. Just become aware of yourself. a bit more, kind of stand back, observe yourself as a person, become self-aware, because a lot of people are unconscious. They're living that kind of 3D reactive world, and they're swimming in it, and they're not pausing to take stock. So yeah, meditation, focus inward, cut your cords of attachment to things that don't serve you, bring your authority back to yourself, because you're the divine being. You know, getting people out of victim mode and into creator, God being mode, doing, creating things, is what brings people joy. What is it? Expression is the opposite to depression. You know, people who can't express themselves get depressed, and that's very prevalent in modern society. So getting people to be creative, expressive, come out of victim mode, you know, because they want you in victim mode. That's part of the programming, to take yourself out. So you're a cheaper way of, you do it yourself rather than the state do it for you. So yeah, sorry to be blunt on that one, but you know, when people realize that this is all in their airwaves, and they pick up these thought scripts, and then they think that they're their own, then they take themselves out and commit suicide and do horrible things. So making people realize that most of that is just programmed stuff that the brain translates, because we're translating frequencies all the time, and they're not their own, they're hacked thought scripts. So when you become aware of those thoughts, you know, become aware of yourself, you can kind of start stripping out those, oh, that's no good for me, I don't like that one, or kind of not entangling it, watch it as weather, and just don't entangle in that. You can also kind of entertain thoughts that are opposite to what you believe, but without entangling in that. So you get more of an idea of the dark and the light of something. And that's kind of more kind of coming out of duality. It's thinking that there's always a third option as well. It's not just dark and light, it's neutral. And actually being in that neutral space, you can observe the dark and light, but not be entangled in it, but also use them combined as that, to give you that extra kind of neutrality and observing. Yeah, and just kind of keep in touch with your heart, you know, be compassionate, be kind always. Try not to cause any conflict. Yeah, and just be present, you know. One of the big things is to keep people lost in the past or the future. So, and that is no time. That doesn't exist. The past is gone, doesn't exist, and the future is yet to happen, doesn't exist. So keeping people locked in that kind of future anxiety or the past regret keeps them out of the present now. And that's on purpose, because if you kind of take stock of who you are and just stop kind of all the distraction and think, well, where am I going? What am I doing? Am I doing things good for me? Or, you know, where do I want to go? What are my priorities? If you just kind of pause and focus on yourself and where you want to go, you're not pulled into this no time of distraction. You're able to bring back your power and your choices, you know, and make those in real time, that then create the future that's much better because you're conscious of it. So they're saying just kind of bring back your power, be you know, don't give away to false authority. You know, connect with people of like mind, you know, who are kind and loving. And yeah, just be discerning as you raise your vibe. You know, you get a lot of rusty nails attracted to you, because light is magnetic as well. So, but you also get gold and lots of lovely things attracted. But as you go up in levels, you know, they want to snuff you out even more, or sort of level you down to that lower baseline frequency. So really it's about maintaining a positive kind of outlook. It's not necessarily about being more positive, it's more about being less negative. And so yeah, and really just, yeah, work on yourselves, because you're divine beings being fooled into thinking you're little worker ants, you know. And when people kind of actually get it, that they're the reason why all this kind of mind control and you know, harvesting energy is because we're divine beings. You know, they wouldn't put so much attention and effort into controlling a population that was just easy, you know, to control. So that kind of shows people their true divine power, the amount of effort it is taken to fool us into thinking that we're free, with these invisible bars. Um, but it's not working, it's crumbling. So, and people are seeing through it, they're seeing the cracks. They're going, hang on a minute, that's not ecologically friendly. We had paper money, rags, but now we've got plastic money. Hang on a minute, what's going on there? Or, there's a million and one other cracks that people are going, hang on, that's not right. And it's generally kind of from people's experiences when they've experienced reality in a certain way for them, and then you've got some bod on the news saying, well, actually it's like this, no, it's not like that, it's like this. You're like, no, that's not in my experience. Why are you telling me this? Kind of want me to believe this sort of stuff. So really just also learn as much as you can, listen to understand, not to react, practice the pause before reacting, and realizing that your response is so powerful. You can choose not to respond to toxic people, to coercive systems. You can go, no, thank you. You know, so yeah, being present helps you to realize your power and that you can control your reality. Because reality is subjective. It's, we manifest reality individually based on the quality of our thoughts and intentions. And so when people realize that, and then they start making new collective agreements with that love and that awareness that they can manifest reality, game over. The whole thing changes, and we start creating this amazing abundance that's been. It's actually, the lack is artificial. You get supermarkets chucking hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of food away in waste. The earth provides for everyone, so that abundance will come back, which is already starting. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's kind of what they're saying. Yeah.
yeah, no, that's brilliant, and it's kind of like, the way I've been living for a long while and anyway, and I don't really, I haven't watched the news for years. I'm aware of what's going on, but just so I've got an awareness of it, but I'm not letting it affect me in the current. And we've got Marilyn, who says good evening to you both, and Marilyn is an absolute brilliant advocate of staying in your own authority and your own sovereignty.
Yeah.
She puts some amazing posts out there, which you kind of like go, oh yeah, you're right there. Yeah, we need to take back that sovereignty. And obviously she's been talking a lot about the non-informed consent that has taken place. But Amanda's got a question. She says, and I don't know if you can speak about this, could you speak to psychiatry demonizing spirituality, rather the spirit that I find astrology, tarot, numerology sets free?
Yeah. So to be able to control a population, you need to indoctrinate them from birth. You need to catalogue them, like prick their heel, make a print. Give them the straw man. You need to give them a false identity, and then you need to convince them that that's them, that straw man, that identity that corporations can entertain with are the actual person, but they're not. It's just it's a form of cataloguing and controlling, and well, saying that they control, but we're divine beings, so no one controls us. So part of that is creating a false reality. If you've got science saying no, you can't travel faster than light, if you've got judges saying no, you can't, there is no thing as spiritual spirit, you can't talk to spirit, you must be mentally unwell, you can't see your children, which happened to my cousin, unfortunately, and he committed suicide because the judge told him that his reality was not valid. And because his reality was not valid, he could not see his children, but for the sake of him being potentially mentally unwell. Not that we're going to assess you and then, if you're fine and you're spiritual, no big deal. But it's another example of how the judiciary, how the government, how the institutions and authorities are controlling the population. You think they're there for helping you, but actually they're there to capture the people who notice their corruption, stop the whistleblowers telling the public. They're there as gatekeepers. So if you go for justice, and you know, the justice system is actually a corporation. It's, you know, it's run for profit. And when I had wranglings with the royal courts, etc., you realise basically, number one, it's not free, so it's impartial. It's not impartial. It's biased in some way. It's for profit, so there's definitely an incentive to you know, give the cases to the people who are paying the most, kind of thing. And it's corrupt because they're all supporting each other in the secret societies, in the law society, in the bar council and stuff like that, and they're all kind of using Black's law, which is spellcasting and black magic. So it's not even English. And the reason why they call you a dead cargo at sea, or a sea monster, as a human is their term, is because they know that there are, most of the population is hypnotized and unconscious of their true selves. They're in this false ego construct. So they know that most of the people are unconscious, and so they're lost at sea, literally. They're not consciously aware beings. So that's why they attach kind of like names like Lost at Sea and stuff. But that's all the straw man. You know, we're divine living beings with blood flowing through us, and oxygen in us and stuff. And if you were to say to the judge, they couldn't argue with that. You know, and actually they're the ones with the mental health issues, because they're seeing you as a dead entity and they're talking to a dead person. Yet they're saying, you know, by their kind of standards, yet they're saying you can't talk with spirit either. So this is all part of the enforced reality bubble, that people think that they're free and these are the constraints of their reality. But actually, you know, extraterrestrials do exist. You know, spirit does exist. There are higher divine angelic beings and there are lower demonic entities out there. You know, they're very real and they may not be visible to your range of perception, but they're very, very real. And they have taken, a lot of demonic entities have taken over the people at the top of these organizations. Fortunately, not, you know, every organization has good and bad apples. So there are still good people in these organisations, but unfortunately, it's the management that are trouble. But the population are waking up to that. And what's nice is that when people realise who they are, they're like, "Oh my goodness, I really don't want to be in this place where I am now. I want to find my tribe. I want to, you know, be with the people I love and stuff." So we're finding that a lot of the people waking up are losing that dead weight. They're changing relationships. They're, you know, making new friendships and stuff like that. And all these kind of control ways, all these kind of judges and authorities and stuff like that are being shown up for who they are. I mean, look, I was thinking about it today. You know, it's embarrassing. England can't say we protect children. You know, there's me and my mates and stuff have been going on for ages about all these rings and all the stuff in Westminster and stuff. And because, you know, we've heard all the backstories and we know insiders. But now all of a sudden it's like priority in the country. But you know, decades and decades, it's too little, too late. You know, we've been doing all the hard work, all the public, you know, protecting the children, and we've had to protect them from the police and authorities and stuff like that, who have accused us of being the, you know, classic throw the blame at the public, at the person who's trying to protect them anyway. So all that's coming to light, you know, and people are losing faith in politics, that playhouse, you know, where they're all pretending to be separate, but they're all part of the same play, you know, just different colours, basically, and they all chat to each other as mates behind the scenes. So this kind of illusion of separation, the illusion of all these authorities, the illusion of reality is crumbling. People are seeing that there's actually a wider reality. It's a lot more colourful, a lot more varied, and a lot more truthful, you know. Yeah, so that's basically what's happening, and people are turning off the supply of loosh to the cabal now. It's going down to a trickle, because we share the information around the public, and it's kind of happening worldwide. So we're all sort of comparing, you know, the truthers and the freedom kind of people, comparing these different agendas from the different governments. So yeah, so we're we're breaking free of that. We're becoming aware of their machinery, their spells, their mechanisms, and we're not having any of it. We're going, nope, see you later. So yeah. So, but it's in the individual. It's the same for Ascension. When you're at the right level on the soul acquired knowledge, you'll suddenly wake up and think, oh my goodness. You'll become present, self-aware, and then you'll start doing kind of shifting priorities and doing more loving kind of things and considerate things. So that's what's happening on a bigger scale now. And the nice thing about the max is that it opens the gate. So it's not like it's going to diminish after the solstice. It's actually going to increase, and we're going to get more and more people waking up and kind of going, all right, yeah, let's change things up. So yeah, hope that answers the question a bit.
Yep. Let us know, Amanda, if that did uh, answer that. So Marilyn has put a couple of questions. I think we've kind of like answered some of the questions, but I'll read them anyway. I missed the first 30 minutes. Marilyn, so you probably covered it. I just wanted to clarify who is the they who is holding the light bag and manipulating minds, and obviously we've mentioned about the cabal, which are reptilians that have coming in. And she also says, given the system is corrupt, how do we free ourselves of that when they have tentacles in everything? And I think you kind of like answer that with us taking back our sovereignty.
Yeah, each individually. I mean, because actually, we make collective agreements, all of us, and people who have been beguiled under that false or enchanted under the false kind of light, they've made all these collective agreements to have reality this way. But as people are waking up individually, that's changing. Those collective agreements are changing effectively. But I would say that we are each all one sort of pixel in the matrix as well. Our unconscious selves doing stuff that we're not aware of that's hurting others, or just silly behavior or polluting behavior or whatever it is. To become self-aware is the best thing you can do, because then you're no longer feeding that machinery unconsciously as a pixel of energy in that system. So, but you can never lose the matrix, because we're all within the divine matrix. That everything's in that, within that one system, and that's a completely different system that's based on love and organic nature and creation. So it's just ridding yourself of the kind of the false 3D human kind of slavery one, and then you see that the world is more of a playground actually, and it's a fun place to be, and you can shape and create your reality and your life, and not be kind of at the whims of other agendas. So yeah, so we are part of the matrix. It's not necessarily aliens, bad aliens, or politicians. It's all of us creating those collective agreements. And as soon as we individually wake up and become self-aware, that's when those agreements change for the better.
Yeah,
Usually,
and it kind of like changes that that matrix energy to that individual one. And Marilyn says, oh, fascinating. I hosted a workshop last month on how to remove demonic entities. So, that's coming up. And Amanda says, who asked the original question, very informative. Thank you for entertaining my thoughts and questions. No, that's absolutely fine, Amanda. And it's amazing how many people are of the same mindset, that are now coming together. There is definitely, I have seen it more of a collective energy now that is questioning more, that are going, actually, I am my own sovereign being. I'm going to take back my power now. I'm not going to not necessarily disobey, as so called, but I'm going to do it my way, whether they like it or not. And I've got the backing of other people, with me to do that. So anything else, any other information that you think, because I can't see any more questions at the moment, that you think is going to help us through this solar maxim, you know, anything else that you haven't touched on that is going to help us navigate it to come out of the other side?
Sure. Well, basically, depends on where you are as an individual, where your mind is as an individual. But for example, when I once thought, oh, wouldn't it be nice to know if there were extraterrestrials or not? And then through my life experiences, I found out that that was real. But the thing is, when you find out that that's real, you don't realize what happens after those consequences. Like, for example, when you want to tell someone about what you've, been part of or witnessed, you don't think about them thinking that you're lying or that you're making it up, sort of thing, or being cynical and joking and laughing at you. You're just genuinely wanting to tell them what happened, and so that they may, entertain that idea, because you know that there's a different bit of reality that there's extra that people are all kind of shut off to. So when you do meet star family and stuff, you there are you don't realize kind of the shift afterwards, and how people interact with you, and how telling them this info affects them as well. So I'm not trying to convince anyone of anything. So please don't, I want everyone to kind of research and discern for themselves. But the beauty is that there are star family out there. They are telling us all ancient data. For example, how they built the ancient monuments with those polygonal rocks and liquid stone. How they can fly across the whole universe with no distance. They just vibrate out a frequency in one location and vibrate in. So there's no here or there. It's instant travel, whatever distance. I'm telling people about how the firmament is actually an electromagnetic containment field around the Earth, and that we can escape it. And that's why you see ships with creating little spirals in the sky, because ether is a high frequency liquid water. And so all this knowledge about kind of what ether is, what frequencies do, how you can utilize them, how energy works, free energy and stuff like that. Well, it's all coming out, and it's all being beamed into us as well by Star Family. So it's coming out through people as well. And people are having lovely contact with Star Family. I work with three particular types, but I speak about of about four. We've got the lovely Tegetans from the Pleiades, who are in orbit. That's Queen Mary at the first of Tema, and she's got an alliance with the Antarians, which are also human looking. They could walk in jeans past you and you wouldn't bat an eyelid. And they're working with the Irma, which are these 8 foot tall cat beings that you don't want to mess with. Basically, they rock. I love them. They all rock. So all these kind of they want to share all the information about what's happening with the Galactic Federation, how the nefarious kind of part have been spotted, and now lots of star families are looking at that and dealing with that. They've also, good news, they've taken control of airspace or planetary space around Earth from 100 kilometers to 100,000 kilometers out, and that's around the whole planet. And they're swapping out the Galactic Federation ambassadors for human ones, or ones with emotions like humans, because the ones before were all kind of logic and not human. So, that's actually really massive news. That's going to take a while to trickle down to the surface. We've still got the cabal kind of on the surface up to about 100 kilometers, but big things have changed. And so that sort of positive abundance is literally the fulcrum of that is on the solstice. So and they're telling us about all the kind of the beings that were here before, the tall, long, elongated skull. They're the Elohi. They came from Aristrope in the Pleiades. There's things like most people are under the illusion that a Pleiadian is one looking thing, but the Pleiades is a massive star system. You've got the Solations, which are the blonde, tall, white kind of looking humans. You've got the Tegetans, they've got dark hair, they look human. You've got the Molus, they look like kind of like fish frogs. They're not human at all. Sorry, Mollyus, they're lovely beings. They're benevolent. And then you've got the homily, which is just like flame elemental beings that can turn into a figurative, like a glowing orange figure. So they're all kind of like piling in and wanting to give us information, and it's getting through. Unfortunately, the Cabal is saying, "Oh, the Pleiadians are AI or they're bad," but they would, because they're kind of like the only main ET group. There's the Callistos as well from Jupiter, who are humans, that are telling us the truth. They're trying to break the blockade of media, sort of thing. So yeah, so Queen Mary's got a channel on YouTube called, I think it's Queen Mary Official, but I also put her stuff on my Telegram channel, or my website, which is starteachingsprotocol.com. Yeah, and we're just kind of bringing out. It's amazing. She's actually a vlogger, a YouTube vlogger, a queen from Pleiades, sitting in a cabin on her yacht, surrounded by massive dreadnought craft and Hashmalim special forces and all that, writing away every day to people on Earth on YouTube. And of course, we've got lovely Gosha, who runs Cosmic Agency as well on YouTube, and they kind of like were the first to kind of bring this stuff out to the population on the surface. So yeah, so it's great to get all that data, you know, on every level, to do with spirituality, to do with technology, to do with history. So yeah, I just continue to kind of pile it out really, and you know, help people kind of come out of that false illusion and find their true, you know, love and power for themselves. So yeah, that's what Star Family are doing at the moment.
Beautiful, beautiful. So oh, bless you, Amanda. Amanda says, feeling the need to send you a hug, Ray. A big hug back to you, Amanda. Thank you for supporting me and all my guests that come on the show. You know, I love the audience that follow my show, which is absolutely amazing. And Sharif has put the two YouTube channels on there. Thank you so much for doing that. So as you know, Matt, I do mini guided meditations, I do guided meditations, and I do angel oracle cards. And each week I like to ask my guests whether they would like me to pull an oracle card or do a mini guided meditation for themselves and everyone watching. So what would you like me to do?
Can I have an oracle card, please?
Funny enough, they are in my hand as we speak.
How did I know?
Which is absolutely amazing. Well, not amazing. It's, as everyone who knows me, there's probably what's a deck around me. So as always, when I do the cards, I do the cards for what we need to know for our present moment. Because like you, I'm very much that we need to be in the present, in the here and now. And even though I work with the past, where I help you clear the past, it's so that when you clear the past, it doesn't affect you in the present. So you can be fully present without worrying about it. And even though I take you into the future is to see, know, and understand where possible future is for you, and to get the steps you need to take or not take, so you're not worried and you stay in the present. So what does Matt and everyone who's watching this, either live or the replay, need to know for their highest good at this moment in time? Does Matt and everyone who's watching this live or the replay, this could at this moment in time? So let's see what card is coming out for us. You cannot make these things up when the cards come out. Stepping into power, you are strong beyond measure. I mean, what more can you say for that card? You know, it's really with you, Matt, you know, it's kind of like, you know, confirming that what you're saying, you know, what you're about stepping into our power, and that we are strong beyond measure is so important now, and the work you're doing is so important. And for those that you are watching, you know, step into your power, know that you're your own sovereign being. You can take your power back, and that you are strong beyond measure. So yeah, you just can't make these things these things up. The angels, the universe always want to come in and give us our higher selves, etc., all want to give us this information. So amazing that cards come up. So Matt, do you have any thoughts or last words of wisdom to leave our viewers?
Um, you, your reality is the quality of your thoughts. Um, not Basically just be in touch with your heart. Come out of your head energy and into your heart energy. Just make decisions from the heart. Choose with love. Bring love back to yourself. You're a divine being here for a reason. We're all actually elite star seeds on the planet. But yeah, just really find your frequency, maintain that frequency, find others similarly with that, so you've got unity consciousness, what unites us rather than what separates us. And really just find your joy, know what makes you joyous, and just do more of that. And make some lovely friendships, and let's heal the planet and each other, and just get on with it. Let's rock on.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful words. So thank you so much, and so relevant. And community and coming together is so important. So I hope everyone that you've enjoyed this conversation and found it insightful, because I know I have, as I always do when Matt comes on the show. The information just, so much. Even I have to go, I have to go back and listen to the show again to really for it to come in. So if people want to connect with you, Matt, how do they do that? And do you have anything coming up at the moment, or any free gifts offers to share? I know you've already kind of like already shared your website, but if you can share again, and I will
Yeah.
put links in the comments after the show.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, well, there's Star Teachings protocol.com, which it's got the ET database. So we're up to about 100 different species. You can
That's
check.
fascinating.
Yeah, there's billions of them. I mean, I don't know how big that's going to get. With graphics and the latest, so that's KGB data, CIA data, my star family data, and things like that. So trying to keep it as truthful and as accurate as possible. There's also the Copper Libraries, which has got scrolls, which are basically information about spiritual things and topics. So that's quite good. But also, I've got positivelivingcommunities.org, which is kind of like the holistic society. Where can people go where there's these loving sacred spaces full of lovely community? And there are lots of places now you can go. So I've got that website, positivelivingcommunities.org, and that's got a lovely group of people who are high vibe. Not necessarily the star family thing, but that does come in for some individuals there. I'm doing the Glastonbury event with Alexander Quinn in September the 13th, the Heart Gathering. And yeah, I've got loads of gatherings, the Shine seminars in August as well. So I'm looking forward to that. And then I'm just doing connection protocol evenings, kind of when I can, so gathering a bunch of people outside, connecting them to stars. So I'm continuing to do that. Yeah.
Wonderful. So busy then.
Yeah, it's getting crazy. It's getting manic,
Glad,
but all
glad,
fun, all good.
glad you found the time to come on the show.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Absolutely love talking to you, and it's great. I think, the more people who can help open up reality more to people and make it more accessible, the language, all that new language and stuff, the better. So yeah, good on you.
Yeah, thank you. And Sharov, thank you so much for putting so you've put in there the Shine seminars. Thank you so much for that. So, of course, for those of you who are watching, if you're ready to connect more deeply with your soul's purpose, You know, if you're feeling the nudge to heal, to grow, and align with the life you were born to live, then I'd love to support you. And you can now join the waitlist for my Soul Path Discovery Program, which is a transformative journey for those ready to clear old patterns, connect with their soul's wisdom, and step forward with clarity and confidence. And you can book a free Soul Path Discovery call by messaging me direct to explore your path and see if it's the right fit for when space becomes available. And of course, I do have a couple of incredible free gifts for you designed to help you connect more deeply with your guides and explore your future. So do check out the link in the comments after the show to grab yours. And if you are a subscriber to my email list, amazing news, today I reached 1,000 subscribers, which is, you know, I've been working towards, and I have been saying in my newsletter to all those that subscribe to it, that as soon as I reached 1,000 subscribers, I would put a offer out to those on my mailing list. So if you've got until Sunday the 22nd to actually join my to get on my email list to get that offer, which is going to be free. I'm not going to tell you what it is because that's going to be the surprise. But yes, there is a an offer that's going to be going out in my email list. So do check out the link to my free gifts. And again, I'd like to thank you so much for watching, and I'd like to invite you to share this video, as I'm sure there are more people who feel lost and want to get clear on their destiny just like you. And of course, as you're watching this on YouTube, then please feel free to subscribe if you haven't already. It is free. And hit that bell button to be notified of when this show goes live, or I post new guided meditations. And I've got a new guided meditation that's going to be premiering. It's going to be, anyway, going to be coming out the early hours of the 20th, ready for the solstice. Where you're connecting with Archangel Uriel, something different this year. And again, thank you for everyone who watched, and for those that joined in the conversation: Sharafea, Amanda, Marilyn. And Amanda says, group hug. It was very pleasurable opening, spending time together. Thank you both. Thank you so much, Amanda. And remember, every time you share, like, comment, subscribe to anything I offer, anything my guests offer, then you're actually helping create that beautiful, wonderful web of light that, you know, helps raise the vibration of Earth, of us, brings that collective energy into that higher positive state, so we can connect more with our star family, with the angels, with Source, divine. And you really are an integral part of that. So thank you so much. And I look forward to you joining me same time, same place next week. Take care. Bye.